What's up, guys? Welcome back to the Pine Box Perspective. So, little project I've been working on for probably a year now is de-junking my go bag. Okay, my go bag is also my EDC bag. I take it with me to work and everything. What I run into a lot of times is I've got so much, every time I get a piece of gear or make a new kit or something, it goes in the bag. Then I carry it around, and then my bag ends up weighing way more than I really want it to. So if I go to add anything to it, say I want to carry 2 bottles of water that day for whatever reason, I don't have room for it, or it just weighs too much and it's uncomfortable. I'm tired of doing that. I've spent the last few years especially learning how to find food in the woods, do all this stuff, basically hone my skills in certain areas. And so what that has allowed me to do is to not carry so much stuff and not be so reliant on things that you can buy, things that are readily available. So what I've done here, I've reduced everything down to 10 core items, and it turns out it's pretty much the 10 C's, okay? Honestly, I never looked that up. I've heard it thrown around quite a bit, and I finally looked it up today, and I was like, oh, well, that's pretty much what I have. So, but anyway, excuse me, I got a cold. Sorry about that. So let's take a look at this, and I want to show you what I cannot do without and why I keep this on me, okay? All right, so to get this bag down, right now, the bag empty that I carry every day, my Pygmy Falcon 2 by Maxpedition, it weighs about 2 pounds empty, okay? Pathfinder cup and bottle set. This weighs, and this includes the lid, I just don't have it with me. This weighs 3 pounds when it's full of water, okay? It weighs 15 ounces when it's empty, all right? Now, the cool thing about this is, like, if you got water bottle holders on the outside of your bag, some do, some don't, you could do this separately and put a bunch of stuff down in here, put the lid on it. It's got a good tight lid. It'll stay down the pack. It's not going to dump out, all right? Or you can nest it, depending on, like, if you got one of those Camelback maximum gears, you can fit this entire thing, I believe, in the side pocket, I think. My large one has that. Okay, so this is item number 1. This is going to be my main thing because, to me, water is everything. Okay, a lot of people say fire or having a knife or what have you. Now, this kit is assuming that you've got your standard pocket knife, your sidearm on you, if you're allowed to carry one, what have you, and your clothes. Your clothes are going to be, basically, that's your first defense against the elements is your clothing. So I always try to dress before I walk out the door for what I'm going to be in. Okay, if it's hot, if it's cold, if I'm going to be in the woods, briars, things like that, bugs. Now, reducing my bag like this has allowed me to make more room if I want to add, an extra layer of clothing. Maybe it's hot during the day, it's cool at night where you are. So there you go. Now you got room and you can still carry a small pack and add things as needed. Cup and bottle set number 1. A lot of people look at this and they're like, okay, fire, water, shelter, food, medical is kind of how I've done it in the past, all right? A lot of times I carry a boo-boo kit around with me and I never use it, but that's going to be an extra item as far as this is concerned. So, fire kit, just an Altoids 10 with a Ranger band around it, got some jazzy duct tape on it. I've showed this before, and I've got your Bic lighter with the tape on it, got to do that. And I've got an Exotac ferro rod refill. I've got 1-inch Gorilla Tape around it. I've got 1 foot, and I've also got 1 foot of that on the lighter. I think that's a foot too. So I've got 2 feet of tape here. I've got 4 sticks of fat wood, nice, good-looking fat wood that I've cut down into about 1/4-inch pieces. It fits down in the Altoids 10 nicely. So either with the lighter or the ferro rod, you can have combustion, with either of those two with the fat wood. My thing is, maybe you don't want to, or maybe you can't, maybe you're injured, you don't want to sit there and make shavings or curls with the fat wood, okay? Maybe you just don't want to do that, maybe you're too tired. So I like to carry either Vaseline and cotton balls, or these tender tabs. Any kind of fibrous material, jute cord is one of my favorites because it works well with both. And those fibers are going to help catch those sparks a lot better, and you're going to have a lot better luck using a ferro rod with something like that without having to do all that work. So all that stuff fits right down in here, and I've got, I've got 8 of these. I've got 4 of the sticks. I could break them in half. I could cut them down into thirds if I wanted to. I could split it down the middle. I could start at least 8 fires with this without having to go find material in the woods. I can really get a lot more out of it if you think about it. So, and then you got the Ranger band that you could burn that to if you wanted to. There's the duct tape, you know, so there's all kinds of options in this tiny little pack. And this is really the only Altoids type setup that I carry now. Everything else is just a little bit larger, but this is nice to have. I could throw this in my pocket if I want to go away from where I'm at and, you know, have a fire, make some tea or boil some water or what have you, then go back to camp if you're trying to hide, or, you know, whatever you want to do. Cook some food. You don't want bears coming up on you. So I could throw this into my backpack that, you know, I want to go camping or hiking with, and you know, I could carry it with me every day and use it as needed. I don't have to dig around in the pack for it. This is one of my quick grab items. If I just need the lighter, get the lighter out for a second. If I want to burn some cardboard or something like that. So that's item number 2. Number 3 is my shelter system, and this is the USGI Industries military style poncho. This is great because I can wear it, I can cover myself in my pack with it, and you know, this is nothing new. But what I've done is I went ahead and set it up so that I could go ahead and make a shelter out of it if I wanted to. And see, now reducing my pack weight down, if it's colder or if I just want to, I can throw the whoopee in the bag too. Now I've got room for that without having to use a larger pack. So I took a cotton bandana and rolled up in here, and the sides are folded over. Now I've got 4 of these tent stakes, and these are burned because I used them. I built a fire under a cup and set it on top, and you know, that worked out pretty good. I've got 4 of them in case I want to do an A-frame. You want to do a plow point, you can use 3, just a lean-to too. And you've also, you know, got a way to cook something right off the ground if you want to get up under it good. So if you don't want to build a fire pit out of rocks and whatnot. And also in that little roll, I've got a quick deploy ridge line here. I'm not going to take this apart, but it's got, you know, the bowline tied on the end of it, and then I've got 3 Prusik loops with number 18 bank line on here, you know, for holding the tarp. The one in the middle could be used if you want to use the center grommet on the tarp, or if you just want to hang like a lantern or something like that, whatever, what have you. So all of that rolled up into this one little bag. Now this thing comes with this decent little bag, so if you're wearing this and you want to collect things like tinder or edibles or just anything you find useful, you've got a nice little bag here. It's basically like a dump pouch, but you can hold it in your hand. And you know, if you got some stuff in the bottom, you could stick it up under your belt and pull it over, and it'll stay there. So now that little setup weighs 1 pound and 9.5 ounces, so that's not too bad for a little shelter system. Okay. Now, my 4th item is going to be my navigation setup, and I left my map sitting on my dresser before I came out here, but anyway, that's going to include a map. The MC2 compass. This is great because on the inside has a mirror that you could use for signaling. It also has a small magnification here that you could use to start a fire. So I've got another fire option there if things go south in that way. And you know, if it's a nice sunny day and you want to get a fire going to cook some food, you don't have to utilize your other resources and use those up. So you know, I got pacing beads here. On my pacing beads, I put this little tops, this flat whistle. I was at the beach last week, and it was like between 20 and 30 mile-per-hour winds, and my wife was maybe 6 feet away from me, and I was talking pretty loud, and she couldn't hear a word I was saying. So you know, that kind of got me thinking. You know, windy situations or anything, if you're injured or need help or lost, you can blow in this whistle, and that's going to give you, you know, a lot better chance of someone hearing you than you sitting there screaming until your voice is gone. So you know, and that's a nice little handy thing. You can just stick this in your pocket and serves 2 purposes there. And then I've got a small notebook, I've got a mechanical pencil, I've got a pen, and I've got a Sharpie. So I could take the Sharpie, I could write a note on a tree with it, you know, say like an old dead tree where the bark's gone, and someone's going to see that if I need someone to know where I've been if they're trying to find me. Or I could take a piece of paper out of here, write a note on it, put it on a tree, something, or just something to let me know if I've already been there and I'm walking in a circle. Hopefully that won't happen with a compass, but You never know. And along with that, Patriot Preacher 43, brother, appreciate it, sent me a royal blue bandana because I didn't want to pay like $6 or $7 for one off of Amazon. And I looked around gas stations and couldn't find any of the good ones. They were like the really crappy ones. So sent me that, man, I really appreciate it. So this, I mentioned in the earlier video that I like to have this color because you're not really going to see this in the woods that much, especially, or really not where I'm at anyway. I could use this as a waypoint marker. I could tie this to a stick and wave it around if I'm filling a hole or something and, you know, trying to get somebody's attention. So, and also it's cotton bandana. You know, with that, if I had to, I could use this and this tin. I could poke a hole in this. Well, you really don't have to poke a hole in an Altoids tin because of the hinges on it. I can make charcoal if I need to do that, you know, if I'm stranded somewhere for a long time. I always keep a headlamp. Now, this headlamp takes 3 AAA batteries. So I keep 6, so that's 2 refills in one of these heavier milled Ziploc bags. I don't need a fancy container. This works just fine. I like these bags a lot. Take up no space at all. Along with that, a lot of times I'm carrying, you know, my little Streamlight Micro, and it takes one of these batteries. So I've got 2 options there. Of course, if I forget my pocket flashlight, I'm good to go with the headlamp most of the time. So, this is my favorite fixed blade knife. I've showed this before. I think it's important to carry a fixed blade knife. You don't necessarily have to, and it doesn't have to be full tang. The reason I say that is I've got a Mora Classic number 2, I believe, and it's roughly the same size as this, and I really like those knives a lot. This is a flat grind, you know, but I compared all of my pack knives the other day, carving a big old piece of fat wood and shaving it down, and there really wasn't that much difference. You can gut a fish with a Mora. I've done it, and, you know, you can skin things with anything. So that, the whole argument about, well, it needs to be this, it needs to be that, it needs to be whatever you like to use, okay? So I like this knife because it's really small, keeps the weight down in my pack. When I put it on my belt, or I can stick the entire sheath and everything down in my pocket if I didn't want to carry a pocket knife, stick it down in there, completely out of the way. So great knife. I'm a big fan of smaller knives until you get into machetes, and then I start enjoying larger knives. So, okay, this little pouch here is the Maxpedition Micro pocket pouch. You know, these things have been around for a long time. I used to keep my fire kit in this, but I went to the Altoids tin. In here, I've got a Sawyer Mini, and inside of that is the filter, and I've rolled it up. I'm going to show you a good way to keep this together rolled up like this. So I took 2 hair ties, all right, and all I did was I fed one through the other and pulled it back through, so it basically created like a lark's head knot around it and pulled it tight. So now I can roll that filter up in this bag like this. And when you do this, you might want to release the cap a little bit so that you can get all the air out of there when you're rolling it up, and it takes up a lot less space. Okay, so you take these hair ties and just put one end around here and the other on the other side, and with that cap being there, it's not going to slip off. And it's, you know, now I wouldn't go throw this down in the pack because this is going to fall out if you're worried about that. Or you could, I guess you could put a Ranger band around here, and then that rubber is going to grip that plastic bag right there, and it might stay in place. I haven't tried that. I'll have to look at that. In the back portion of the pouch here, I've got a straw, and I did cut it down to fit in here, okay, if I want to drink straight out of a puddle or something. And the one urban thing in this kit is I've got one of these Silcock keys. I think it's a great idea. Honestly, I could take it or leave it, whatever. They do work. So that's a pretty nice little emergency water kit. I could drink straight out of a source. If you didn't have a canteen, you could drink straight out of this bag, or I could fill this thing up and squeeze it into my container twice, and I've got a liter of water, and I can put this up and I can go and I can drink out of my bottle again. About the size of your hand. So nice little emergency water system right there. And Oh, also, I've got two water purification tablets in there. They're down in the bottom of the pocket. I'm not going to pull it out. But anyway, so that's a pretty standard little setup. And I've got one, well, I got two more things, but the Shemag, okay. I keep this down in the bottom of the pack. A lot of times I throw gear on it or collecting mushrooms, you know, things like that, fire tinder. This makes a really good scavenging bag. All kinds of things. If I get cold, I can tie it around my neck or my head or what have you. You can fashion a tourniquet out of it, you know, if you want to do that. So many uses for these things. It's just really kind of stupid not to have one. So, now, the last item that I have included, and I've left room in this, okay, this little pill bottle here. Now, for my ridge line, I have a little bit of extra cordage on that. That one's 25 feet. I usually do about 30. That one ended up being 25. I was setting this little shelter up the other day, playing around with it on 2 fence posts, where the fence was gone in the middle. And ended up having about 8 feet extra left. Okay, that's a decent little amount of extra cordage. And, you know, I had the tarp right in the middle. And I realized, you know, you're not always going to find trees that are close together. So that's why I like to keep an extra amount of cordage on my ridge line, because you never know how far you got to stretch it out. So you find a good comfortable spot on the ground, but the trees are too far apart. Well, you know, now you can make it work. I mean, typically 10 feet would be good. You know, you got a, what is that thing, 7 or 8 feet wide, something like that. So there's extra cordage on there. I've got a small hank of that number 18 bank line in here. This is 15 feet. It's about the size of my finger, and I think I've showed this before in a kit too. That, and I've got a curved sewing needle in here. Okay, so I could take this apart. I could use this for a fishing line. I could use it for repairs on, you know, gear, what have you, using this needle. Now, the reason I don't have anything else in here is because I know it was kind of trendy to put a fishing kit in your gear for a while. I think it's a great idea, because to me that is the easiest way to get protein out in the wild, especially if you're not into foraging or you don't want to take the chance and eat a mushroom that you're not, you know, aware of, which is smart, by the way. But if you come across a pond, guys, it doesn't take anything at all. You can catch a brim on a bare hook. Okay, I've done it, and I've seen other people do it. Brim are stupid, and they don't taste bad. And you can get some decent sized ones one time. I caught one once at Lake Norman. It was like the size of a pie plate. I couldn't believe it. So you can find a worm. You can find, right now there's grasshoppers all over this bean field in front of me. It's not that hard really to catch a fish if you just don't stand right over the water. Trout, a little bit different story, but you can catch those too. What I'm going to do is I'm going to add some fishing line and weights and hooks to this, and just make a really simple kit. Oh yeah, and the floating earplugs, you know, for pond use. So this is like a little emergency kit, basically, inside the larger emergency kit. So guys, that's kind of where I'm at right now. I really don't want to carry any more than this. I like all this stuff. I've used it, I've practiced with it, and I know in here everything works, everything's good quality. So really, the fishing kit's really the only thing I want to add. Now the boo-boo kit deal, guys, I can take duct tape and wrap around a cut. A lot of you are going to tell me, well, you got to have a tourniquet. Well, I have one. Sometimes I carry it in my pocket. You know, but see, now I've got room in this pack. I've got a little quick grab section on the outside. I could throw that in there, because if I'm going to need a tourniquet, I'm going to need it in a hurry. So I don't want to put it down deep in the bag, you know. So I can throw that in there with my headache medicine, my allergy medicine, what have you. But all of this plus my bag weighs 10 pounds, and that's with the water bottle full. That's kind of hard to beat. It's kind of hard to argue with. Now, say I'm going to work, or if I'm going to go in the bank, I want to stick my gun in my bag and leave it in the car, what have you. That's going to add, I think it's between 5 and 7 pounds in my pack, okay? So like I said, this is all assuming that you're carrying your stuff on you. The boo-boo kit thing, I put them in, I take them out. If I got my kids with me, I throw it in. If it's just me, a lot of times I take it out and get it out of my way. I just, you know, don't really use Band-Aids a whole lot. Not saying it's a bad idea. Having some Neosporin on you or something like that, or a little small thing, a quick clot or some skin glue, not a bad idea. But guys, like I said, I'm tired of carrying all this stuff. I can't take my entire house with me every time I leave the house. So anyway, guys, let me know what you think. Let me know what you would do different. Give me some ideas. Throw it out there, because I'm, just kind of been beating my brain about this whole thing for a while, and I really want to get it right. I want to get it comfortable, and I want to be able to cover all my bases. Okay. So anyway, guys, hope you appreciated it. I didn't run this one an hour long, so I'm doing better. All right, we'll catch you next time.